And we are rolling. Welcome to the In Cayman Podcast here with Ben Hudson. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. Of course, I always wanted to get you on here. All the conversations that we've had in the past decade.
Yeah.
I've known you more than 10 years, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been doing film for 10 years, but I remember meeting you even before I officially got in, and I was still kind of like feeling it out a bit.
Right.
You were in it.
Yeah.
So how long have you been?
I'm approaching 20, maybe.
20 years.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm like, getting there.
So when did you pick up your first camera?
It wasn't there's this, it wasn't a camera per se.
Right.
Like
Music.
It was I got called into what was CITN.
Mm-hmm. I remember CITN.
Right, way back when, to do some graphics with a gentleman by the name of Larry Blair.
Mm-hmm.
This is way back when.
Mm-hmm.
And then I began helping Larry just to do graphics, because that was my background.
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop, Illustrator.
Okay.
So doing supers, doing all the I guess the making picture look beautiful things.
Right.
So, and then, I get called out on a shoot, and the next thing I know, I'm transitioning between a graphic design space and a film space. But then I always worked in audio as well, music producer from back then. So that all kind of tied into, okay, we work with pictures, we work with audio, let's put it all together. And transitioned into video production, filmmaking, the whole lot.
Right. And you've been doing it ever since.
Yes.
So what do you think are some of the differences between then and now? Were you guys on film at that point, or was it digital?
I call them paint brushes, right? These tools that we use.
Right.
The paint brushes were different.
Mm-hmm.
But we still tried to... the goal was always to
paint something beautiful.
Yeah, everybody wants to be the one who paints the Mona Lisa.
Right, right.
I mean, we can talk about gear, but it's about the... So a lot of what I did back then, realizing that, I got right into what matters, which is storytelling. And that's how I kind of met you, right? It was on the story, we need to work on the source that begins everything. Right. So, and I've always been more interested in the words anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely a space where you and I have sort of been able to meet, is in the storytelling aspect of things, because we were always very interested in that. I tell people all the time, but when I watch a movie that I like, and I'll stay for the credits just to find out who wrote it. I'm not so much interested in anybody else. Maybe the DP, maybe the director. Yes. But definitely it's the writer who made the story, who wrote the story.
Who imagined this whole thing.
Yeah.
Set it into motion.
Yeah.
A group of us exist that just sit in the theater to see the credits roll, to figure out if so-and-so wrote this or...
Right. I mean, I feel like the writer is always the most they're just underrated. They wrote all the characters. They decided what happened to the characters in the plot. They put the words in the character's mouth. They created the whole story from top to bottom. But of course, as we know, they're at the bottom of the pole when it comes to the filmmaking process, kind of.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that they write everything you see.
That's true.
So if something is in the frame, like this cup, they'll write it into the script so that production can get it into the frame.
Yeah. The storytelling aspect of it. So, how do you feel with your paint brushes and the paintings that you've painted and the stories that you've told, over the last 20 years, I guess story doesn't change, right?
I think storytelling changes. I think the importance of story doesn't.
Right.
Information.
Why is story so important? Because this is a new concept that I'm trying to get in to figure out more in terms of human history.
All right. To answer that, let's do a thought experiment. This gets me into a lot of what I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Subtract mathematical experiment. Subtract information from a script. What do you get?
Subtract information from a script? You mean like the words itself?
Yeah.
A blank page?
Yep. Subtract information from the art department and say, go wherever you want to go.
Uh-huh.
What remains after you subtract information?
Well, nothing.
Yeah. That
Okay.
answers the question. And I think information, I think of information as a living organism.
Mm-hmm.
It does with you, when you write a story, what it does with you.
Mm-hmm.
It does with me,
Mm-hmm.
what it does with me.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, cinematographer, it will do with her what it does with her.
Mm-hmm. It affects everyone differently?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How we see the world. I think how we interpret the world.
Mm-hmm. And storytelling is information?
I think that's a big part of it. It involves interpretation. I don't think you get to make a what we call a good movie, a great movie, until you've done a bunch of living. And until your lens on information can do what it does, that people call a great movie.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's, I'm not saying it's impossible. People have made things that resonated with lots of people when they're 13 years old. Like YouTube is
Filled with that.
yeah.
Right.
But I think information is doing things with people as well as people do things with information. And that's why storytelling, I don't think stories, the importance of story will change, but I think of storytelling as this thing in flux.
Mm-hmm.
It's always changing because the tools change, the paintbrushes change,
Mm-hmm.
the technology changes. I mean, we are all watching on these things.
Mm-hmm. People make stories of their phones, but there's different ways to tell. You can tell a story. You don't have to actually make a movie.
Yeah, but then it's culture. It's the fact that we speak English primarily.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way we think in English. We dream in English. I am married to a Japanese person, so like often I will ask her, "Did you dream in English or in Japanese?" Because the whole thing changes. Like.
But that's a tool.
Hence.
That's also a paintbrush, isn't it? The language that you use, because you can tell a story in any language.
Yes, and
So what does she say what does she dream in?
depends. A lot of it depends on what we.
I mean, it's
we
a good
eat,
question, right? Like if no one's actually talking in the dream, are you dreaming in a language? Because sometimes dreams are just like these images and weird things happening. They're not necessarily in a language,
Right.
but maybe they are.
Often she will say she dreams in black and white.
Really?
Yeah.
That's also a good question.
That's not me. Everything I remember from dreams happen in color.
Huh.
But yeah, getting back to your question, I think it's about information, the script. It wants to grow. It behaves like an organism. It says an idea will be floating. That's how I think of it, right? Ideas come and go. Great idea for a movie comes to you, comes to me, comes to someone.
Lots of people.
And then the idea will do a Tinder-like thing with you. It'll date me as well. And then it'll go after someone else. And it's looking for a partner. It's looking for someone who will take the responsibility to
materialize it?
Yeah, to man up, to bring it to fruition.
I think about that a lot because so many people believe that ideas are theirs.
And then there's that, yes.
And they believe that because they had this idea that it belongs to them and that if someone else does it, it was stolen from them. It was their idea. But I don't actually believe that. And it sounds like you don't either. It sounds like ideas exist.
Right.
And that they swipe on different people.
Yes.
Right. And they connect with different people.
Agreed.
And very often you see the same idea pop up.
Yeah.
In around the world, even in Cayman or wherever.
Because it wants to grow.
Huh. Interesting.
Like look at everything that has happened historically. Everything, like I'm talking now wider. News is an organism, what we call mainstream.
Right.
The playlist that you might have looked at 15 minutes ago, it's an organism. Mm-hmm. Like it's constantly growing. So I have considered that many times when I write my songs, thinking that I have become the only one in the world to write this lyric in the way that I've written it from my unique perspective in Cayman.
Right.
I get dumbfounded a few months later, a few weeks later, a few years later to find out that someone in Switzerland, someone in Africa, someone in Brazil got there before me.
Right.
And if I'm really honest with myself, if I look at what the idea did with them, it correlates to what it did with me or what I did with it.
So you sound like a Platonist, like Plato, because Plato had the idea that forms are real and forms sort of exist outside of the material world. And they materialize themselves in the form of specific objects, like dog, the classic example of a dog. There is the form of a dog that exists, according to Plato, that exists out there, and it materializes itself in all the sort of individual dogs that you see on Earth.
I see.
Sounds like kind of like what you're saying, where these ideas sort of exist, and then they seek to materialize, for lack of a better word, themselves in these individual people. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I agree with it in so much that I think ideas have us. We don't have ideas. We like to walk around and think we have information. I have information because I can take it out of my back pocket. I think of that as information has me. Yes, I can take it out my back pocket, but it's a symbiotic thing. I may have information. I may have a paintbrush, but the organism has me. And all that's emerging across social media with all these different people positioning themselves with this tribe, and I found my tribe over here and my group over here.
Right.
I think that's information doing what it does through interpretation, through resonance, through energy, through vibration, to connect those people to itself,
right?
So that it can grow. And that looks like the definition of an organism to me.
So what are the consequences of these ideas, these informations, these stories being organisms? If they truly are organisms that want to live and sort of use us to live, what are we not seeing from that? What are the consequences of that idea?
Interesting question. I've explored this for about 3 years now. I think information itself has done what it's done in such a way that groups of us think that aliens should only exist as carbon organisms.
Right. I think I'm one of those.
But why can't an alien exist as information? Well, if it's growing and it's thinking, like we now transition more than ever to a thing called artificial intelligence.
Right.
See where this goes?
Yeah, I'm with you.
So, but the images that we've seen and the sequence of thoughts we've had because of what we've seen in mainstream would cause a lot of people to say, nah. An alien is a thing, a physical thing
from another planet.
Yeah, we wouldn't think that a bunch of ideas, a bunch of data, could come together and start to become intelligent. But then we're experiencing that.
Right.
Like if you follow what OpenAI does and the whole movement on AI, I don't think we have begun to have the kind of conversations about the implications that that will emerge as a result. Like I don't think the world yet, but maybe we're there. Because I'm doing it. I've been doing it for a while, but I talk to people about this all the time.
So I feel like, every generation feels like they're the smartest generation. They're at the cusp. They have more information than previous generations. They look back at previous generations and say they didn't know anything, or they weren't that smart. They didn't have the information that we have now. And then when you push that forward into the future, all that really tells you is that you're in the same situation as the people that you're looking back at in the past, and the things that you think are certain now are probably not certain. And to those in the future, when they look back at us, they're going to be like, yeah, those guys are pretty dumb. They thought, that aliens were only carbon based.
Until we learn that they're not.
Right.
Or until we get a thing that we call proof.
Right.
But I think what this has led me to is more than 3 years when I think about it. It's pre-pandemic by 3 years actually. So it's more. It's
6 years.
It's more than that. Yeah. But it caught like one of the questions that emerged from my research, and this is stuff I research. Like there are people. I'm not the first. There are people who have explored this idea. Written books. You can go dig them up. But one idea that keeps recurring with me is, in all our effort to do what we do, we assume that to move forward in life, we must rely upon this thing that we call thinking.
Okay.
We must rely upon this thing called information. We must rely upon all the processes that derive from that. Interpretation, cognitive, critical thinking, the whole lot, right? But this question that keeps popping up, especially at the exponential rate that AI now goes, do we then get to the human race, get to a place where we don't rely upon knowledge anymore? If we build a machine that can do thinking better than us, if we build a machine that can pattern recognize faster than us, if we build a machine that can pattern replicate faster than us, faster than the whole of the world combined, like ChatGPT is already at 90%. If we build a machine that can do this thing that we've relied upon for centuries, for thousands of years, to move us forward incrementally, get an advantage over that country. If I'm just smarter than you, get an advantage over business, get an advantage over my business competitor. If I just do my R&D, If we now approach a paradigm where this thing that we've built can get better results faster in more comfortable ways, harmlessly, like we harm each other, trying to one-up each other. If we build a machine that can do that, then the question becomes, what do we do when our belief systems around God, which is rooted in us looking at words in a book, to figure out God. What happens when we start to, with our own capacities, calculate that machine will get there and figure out patterns that we've not seen for years, faster than us? And will it do, what will it do when it gets there?
So you answer that question. What are you saying when AI and computers can, which they already can, think better than us,
Outthink us,
deduce better than us, recognize these patterns better than us. Your question was, are we going to stop thinking?
Are we going to stop putting all our hope in knowledge? Are we going to get to a place where, in other words, what is better than knowledge? What is better than...
I have a feeling you know the answer to this question.
I don't know if I have.
Well, I think, not to jump into something, but I feel like also just knowing you, I feel like love is something that might have to build up a little bit more, because
that's awesome that you say that.
Intelligence is taken care of, so to speak, in terms of AI, and now we need to sort of fill that gap between us through love. Did I put words in your mouth?
No, that's Genesis.
Like the book of Genesis?
Think about it. What are you not supposed to touch?
The tree of the knowledge of good and evil?
Yeah.
Okay.
The question then becomes, would God give you a command that you should not obey? I said don't touch that thing called knowledge, good and evil.
Right.
Now we're like, AI is racing toward pattern recognition better than we can handle it. It's pretty much the reason why it's so popular is because we have built up civilization around knowledge work. Right. And now you have a machine that's doing knowledge work better than us.
Right.
And you have a book that's been around for a long time that tells us not to touch knowledge.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. I do this thought experiment sometimes. I study all kinds of things. It's not just the Bible, but like all the sutras, as many as I can. Right. I'm constantly looking through them to figure out what they say regarding this subject. Knowledge. The Buddhist practice conveys that it's all in flux. It's passing away. Knowledge is passing away. That's Bible as well.
Right.
The Hindus say the same thing. And so it's very interesting times for the spiritual as well as the technological. I think of it as very interesting times for humanity to come to grasp with what is this thing that I call me? If I become able, or some of us become able to build machines that can get better results faster, more effectively, more cost effectively than how we used to do it. What do we do now?
Well, what do you think?
I think we go back to an innocence. I think you're right with love. I think we get more opportunity to occupy ourselves with getting better at the behaviors of love. Because we've been occupied with trying to pay the rent.
Right.
We've been occupied with trying to
build the nuclear bomb, the space
capitalism, all the isms,
right,
bro.
Right. Isms and schisms.
but like the implications are wide for that. That's the thing about information, right? So,
I feel like, isms and schisms reminded me of Bob Marley, and I feel like that was actually kind of his message. There was a couple of songs where he was like, when he's talking about those that blast off on their spaceships and sort of getting caught up with things that don't really apply.
Yes. I think
to where we are.
Yes. Many people, including him, have said it.
If you know what life is worth, you will look for yours on earth.
Boom.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's actually very, very interesting. I never quite thought about the redundancy of knowledge and intelligence until this conversation. But I think that's a very good point, especially in the age of AI.
And the reliance upon and the assumption that information and critical thinking and all these laws that we discover around physics are the only way to move forward.
Right. A lot of people think that.
When books sacred books have said, watch out for knowledge. It's very, very interesting. But then, like, how do you not, like, it's hard. I've tried it. Well, it's hard it's hard to come to grips with.
It is, but I see it actually happening, especially now, especially after the pandemic, where people resolutely refuse to believe science and rationality.
Then there's that. Yes.
They resolutely, they don't believe scientists anymore. They don't believe the earth is round.
And they believe in different kinds of truths. There's my truth and your truth. Have you seen that?
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty...
Yeah, that's and I think what they mean is that there's my perspective and then there's your perspective. And then we have to contend with information in flux as an organism that keeps on changing, because I think the Mandela effects.
What is that again?
The Mandela effects. A Mandela effect is when, as I understand it, when a group of people remember something that occurred in their life differently. So you grow up.
Like something happened to you and I 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, we remember it differently?
No. Well, yeah, things are different. Things, let's Google it.
Yeah. ChatGPT, hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it. It's a lot of Mandela effects have happened. A lot of them are visual. Like some of the more popular ones, Pokemon, Monopoly. Do you remember when playing Monopoly if the little guy with the hat had a monocle on his eye?
Huh, that's a good question.
Because
he either did or he didn't.
Because
I could believe both of those.
Because in my memory, he did. I remember monocle.
But other people's memories don't.
People, like if you look at it, people are saying the game has never done that.
So the Mandela effect is a phenomenon where a large group of people remember an event or detail differently than how it actually occurred. This was coined by Fiona Broome in 2009 after she discovered that she, along with other people, falsely remembered Nelson Mandela dying in the 1980s in prison, even though he actually passed away in 2013 after serving as South Africa's president.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that in 2012, something happened to the world.
What? The end of the Mayan calendar?
No, something happened to the world that caused a forking of reality.
In 2012?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which these began to emerge. These Mandela effects began to emerge right around that time because some experiment happened that shouldn't have happened that caused all of reality to fork. Split off. And we are seeing residual changes happening in the world, and we might live in the reality that is going to survive. From what I've gathered, a lot of consensus on that.
I mean, the world is changing so fast. Like there's people just don't trust anything anymore. Information.
It keeps moving like an entity. Exactly. Yes. This is even before it started happening, I noticed what it did in my life.
What?
Like I don't remember things like people. I've gone through some things with people. And I swear it was like this. And it's not just my memory. I mean, what does it say about information? That do you really have information if at some point in your life, a neuron in your brain, a part of your physical apparatus, the fleshy thing inside of your skull disconnects. The information is still here, but it's disconnected from here. Do you have information? Do you have information, or does information have you at that point? people remember things differently. What does it say about us that we're talking hundreds of thousands of people online saying, no, it's this way.
Right.
I remember it this way.
Right. And the other half of people saying, no, it happened that way.
It happened that way. And then the companies that make the products are
Or what?
Are saying, well, we never did that. We at no point in our company's history did we print this thing like this. You can look at them. There are a bunch of images.
Well, even the whole alien thing.
Are we going to get onto aliens now?
I remember, like, say prior to 2012, conspiracy theorists believed in aliens, right?
Right.
And then now when the U.S. government, a year ago or whatever, admitted that aliens, exist or whatever, the phrase of word alien matter that he said, now the conspiracy theorists are the ones that say, no, the U.S. government's lying. Those aren't aliens. Right. So there's a shift between we believe aliens exist to now that the government says that they exist. Actually, no, we don't believe those aren't aliens.
Those aren't the ones. Yeah. I think there's a large group of, I'm talking billions of people at this point. An incredible amount of people are dumbfounded that for the last almost 100 years, we've been very comfortable with our TVs and our devices, telling us all about things flying around the place, but no one's actually showing us what's flying these things. And then when we do now more recently talk about the existence of these things, we still don't go, okay, here's one. We're interviewing one today. It's like we live on a farm, and people are like, did you see that thing over there? It was like is that a chicken? And like, we live on a farm, but we don't want to talk about the chicken.
Right.
We're very happy for 100 years to talk about the tractor that the chicken is sitting in with this thing called, that's driving the tractor.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that you're wary about.
I'm tired. Like, billions of people are tired. How much more visuals can you see?
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
How much more of these conversations, just in the middle?
Can you have?
Like, did you see one? Was that one? Bro, in Cayman, many, many years ago with someone I won't mention, after a production one night, going home on what was the newly built Linford Pearson Highway. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like, when it was fresh, I'm talking days in.
Right.
This was when there was no lighting, no lamp holes. Like CUC hadn't done anything. We were going, like, it's late, like 1:30 or something, coming from the studio, taking this individual home in my car. And I'm just driving, and it's quite pitch black out there. And this is like, what, a 3-minute drive, right? From Il Thompson to
Kings?
Kimana Bay.
Oh, you mean no, Esterly Tibbetts Highway.
Esterly Tibbetts. Sorry, Esterly Tibbetts. That's the one, right? My bad. Out of the blue,
What happened?
white shining light. Super silence everywhere. The car is going, and we both feel like we start to, like, float a little bit.
Is that right?
And there's this light that comes over. The car never stopped.
Right.
But we feel like it's profound because we are driving down a pitch black highway. This is not the mosquito plane. The mosquito plane does not behave like that.
Right.
This is not a helicopter.
Right.
Helicopters are loud as heck.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a light that floats up very quickly, whoop, over you. and it's just going with the car, and we feel like we're doing this, and then like for 5-6 seconds, and then the person and I began to freak the heck out, and in 5 or 6 seconds it just whooped off, and we both look at each other in the car and just go home. And we don't say a word. I don't remember saying anything after that for a while. That happened. I know that happened.
Right.
So,
and what do you think that was?
I don't know. I do not know. And that's why I'm saying that I got angry because I can't, this is way back when, so I can't talk about this stuff.
Right.
And now today, seeing all these images.
Right.
And I can tell you billions of people are like, all right now, we're okay.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's more, you can talk about these things more now, is what you're saying, than you could then?
I don't think they want to talk about it. They just want to get it over with. The frustration is like, how much more images are we gonna drive down my eyeballs and not really talk about the implications of this? Like, seriously show the implications of this. And for some reason, and because the delay keeps happening, even though the disclosure is coming, it's just giving rise to all kinds of information growing in people's brains.
Yeah. So there is a danger to this, is where you're going.
I don't know. I like, technology is technology. I'm not saying it is like what happened to me was ill. It could be the army was testing advanced technology. Who knows, right? But and I would feel that a chunk of that exists, because I like, we who work in the industry that we work in know that we've been deliberately, for capitalism's sake, bled out. Like, the cameras we bought could have had more functionality in them, but you had to wait for 2.0. You had to wait. You had to pay your extra $5,000 for that next thing. Even though you could have got it put in the first camera.
People complain about Apple about that. Oh.
You know, and we pay because we've got to. But the implications on AI is that, because then if people can get better results faster in more comfortable ways than all paintbrushes combined, which is the whole thing. I don't know if you've seen it. Sora, have you seen it? Yeah. Like, I heard a studio just got put on
hold. What's his name again?
Mr. Perry.
Yeah, that's right.
Because of the implications of that.
Huh. Yeah, I saw that article actually, and I mean, I think it was like 800 million or something that he was putting up for the studio. Yeah, I would probably think twice as well if I were him.
Yeah. It does everything. It writes your scene. It blocks out your actors.
Yeah.
And you can prompt an output.
Yeah. That
looks better or as good now, and it will only get better from here.
Yeah. I mean, ChatGPT knows the structure of stories. You know, it knows plot and character.
And it writes good stories if you prompt it correctly.
The right way. Yeah. So, if we live in this world where information and intelligence is becoming redundant and information can grab people and hold people, I mean, the vaccine situation is a perfect example of where people are split in half.
Yep.
And it can divide. What are the concrete steps that we can take today to sort of balance all of that out a bit? Us being overwhelmed by information and images.
Yes.
Is it put the phone down?
I think we need to do that for our own health. I've become clearer on things every time in my life when I just I took off my notifications. I paid the consequences for that, though.
Right.
Because then you miss out on certain opportunities.
I remember calling you and just can't get a hold of Ben. Can't get a hold of Ben. Ben just not there.
Right?
Yeah. Are you on social media? No.
Yeah, I've been off for a while. I've been doing this. I've been doing what I call sitting with getting to know myself, getting to know where I stand in the world. That's one of the most difficult things for people to do. I think so because it's been hard for me to do, to face up to my blind spots, to face up to the fact that I'm faulty, bro. I make a lot of mistakes in my thinking, but not just there, like in my relationships, on my job, like constantly.
Yeah.
And so this question that you have there about like what does the balance look like to do this with information? Like just put it over there and just take a break and just get back to simpler things. That is very important. How much of that can you do though in the framework that you live, where you need to pay? Like the landlord doesn't care about that at the end of the month.
Right.
You might have gotten your time to relax, but then that just builds into stress. So even though you're taking time for yourself, you're paying the cost elsewhere. And that's the predicament that a lot of people live in. They would love to do 3 staycations in a row. You can't. You know?
So then I hear what you're saying. Sure, just, put the phones down, take a break every now and then, but we still need to get back to it to answer our wife or our girlfriend or family or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So what are some concrete steps other than putting the phone down?
This is it. I think, I don't know a lot, but I think this is helpful. This is valuable. This has worked for me. To answer that question, I'll first say, I think we live in a world where, imagine we're in Cayman. So like, let's do a metaphor. Like imagine information as this 3,000 foot tsunami. This is it. It's coming through your eyeballs.
Sure.
3,000 foot. This is not 8 foot. This is not 10 foot. This is way up in the clouds. And then imagine that it's coming fast and you see it coming. You're on the beach, you see it coming, and your emotions begin to run wild and do what they do when you see that coming. And it's exponentially getting faster and faster as it approaches. And it's now, in a few blinks of an eye, it's not 3,000, it's now 9,000. It's going way past the clouds.
Traveling at the speed of sound.
And it's coming. I think we seriously need, with these things, and our Gen Xers, I have a little one, we seriously need to get prepared, better prepared, on how to suck the good out of the tsunami before the bad inside of the tsunami overcomes us on the beach. It's a matter of speed and accuracy. It's a matter of, I don't think you get to ride that wave. I don't think you should ride that wave. Some people are riding that wave, right?
Some people are building bunkers.
Some people
to protect themselves from that wave.
Yeah. Some people are just disconnecting.
But what are you suggesting?
I'm saying that there's good and evil in that wave.
Yeah.
I'm saying that your ability to get the good out in time before the thing crashes down. Suck out the good as quick as possible. Do something for your life that gives you an advantage with all of this stuff coming at you. And really realize that there's going to be way more good in there. Don't be greedy. Because if you stay in there too long, there's the bad inside of that thing as well. That's going to do everything it does to mess up your life, because you're not immune to the wave. You're not immune to information. You see what I'm saying?
So it's like balance again at the end of the day.
I think we need to become, I don't know what it is, but we need to somehow not fear it, but become decisively focused on, it's going to be this and only this. This is value. The rest will harm me and my family and my mental health. So I'm in, I'm out, I'm done, notifications off. And then when I'm done, I'm actively trying to put into practice what I need to put into practice to better my life, to better my family's life, to better my relationships as quickly as possible, as accurately and as quickly as possible, because the wave is coming. Because if I do it tomorrow, I do it the day afterwards, that's all good. I do it for 3 weeks straight. The wave is still going to be out there waiting for me. As soon as I remember going through the pandemic, right? I had to shut off some WhatsApp groups, bro.
Right.
Information was alive.
Tell me about it. Man.
And then I think I learned a lot of lessons during the pandemic. One of the biggest ones was, if you do not get better at people, that will bite you in your ass one day. Get better at all these relationships that we have that we take for granted. I had to get better with the people in my life. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm the king of mistakes, right? Like, but what I mean by that is get better at heart-to-heart talk that enables us to live very vulnerable with each other, right? And
interesting.
And put the practice in and do the things we need to do. When people tell us, "Hey Ben, there's something in your blind spot that I can see that you can't see.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you this with love, but you're not seeing it.
And you're not listening.
And you're not listening. And all your hoo-ha about information being an organism is you need to put that aside and just take what I'm saying to heart and do this, and do this. And then I need to become better, and we all need to become better at humbly saying, thank you, I appreciate that. I'm going to slow the car down. Thank you for pointing out what I'm not seeing in my rear view mirror.
Right.
That is right next to the car. That can harm all of us.
Right.
I need to get better at that.
I think the whole world needs to get better at that. I feel like that's just a human thing where we can't see certain things that other people can see in us. It's because we're in ourselves. Yeah. But it takes somebody outside of ourselves to like, you don't realize what you're doing right there, but you're actually doing that. And you're like, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? That's not me. Yeah. But we all know that that is true. Yeah.
I can't see the back of my head. I don't see that direction. Right.
I like that.
I don't. Yeah. Like a lot of us have significant amounts of blind spot.
Yeah.
And so the universe as it emerges forces us to connect with each other, and the opportunity comes out of it to do the heart to heart. And I have to trust that person's observation about that tiger that I can't see right over my shoulder is correct. Right. And then I need to do the right thing about the tiger and about the people as well, and about what I'm doing as I live my life. So I think we need to do that, but that takes practice, and then that process that we go through in doing that leads to the realization that we may not be the best person to drive the car. Because when we drive the car, things come at us, tigers come at us, bulldozers come at us. And then it forces humility.
Yeah.
That's the tough one.
The humility, for sure.
It forces humility, like the connection, like getting good at the human thing, getting good at heart to heart, forces us to
admit our mistakes, our failures.
Yeah, that's one part of it, but forces us to see ourselves for what we really are. Like I can think that I'm the best basketball player in the world, as a 4-foot something person.
Right.
And 7-foot guys are around me. Should I really play the game?
Right.
Like, should I be in this game if I am 4 foot tall?
Right.
Right? As much as I love the game.
Right. Right.
I'm up against challenges that are better suited for a 6'5" guy.
Right.
And so it forces us to look at ourselves, and this is the thing, right? Tinkering with ourselves, actually physically testing ourselves in situations.
Yeah.
In doing that, after we have these heart-to-heart, we need to humbly make the right decisions. And I think it's about speed and accuracy there as well. That's tough for me.
You gotta act quick.
Yes, because it's not just information. The world is changing. Economies are shifting. Like people are saying we're about to go to war. There's easiest time to get into the United States of America right now, man. They're preparing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that a lot in terms of just me in film and production, where I have somehow been able to produce shoots, produce films, and bring all of these people together to work on this production.
Right.
And while I'm doing that, have people who are working beside me helping me put it all together, saying, "Better back off. You're not an organized person." And it's like, I know what they're saying is true. I thought I was an organized person. I'm organizing the shoot. What are you talking about? But definitely the people that are working with me are more organized and can see all the things that need to happen and put things together and don't give that to Better. He's going to lose it. And I'm like, well, what is my skill?
Yes, and that's what happens, right? Like you become, where's my place in this world?
Right.
How do I wanted to offer value.
Right.
And offer it from a place that I am well suited for.
Right.
What do I do? It's opportunity for growth, but it's also opportunity to, after you look at yourself, innovate. This is what has happened to me. Like, I am more prone to make mistakes in other areas than other areas. Some areas I just don't give it to Ben.
Right.
Like I get bored very easily. Like my attention span is like, whoa, I am off to the next thing.
Yeah.
So it costs. The cost for me to go in for a very long period of time and do deep work mentally or with people, that's a high cost for someone whose mind is always racing to the next thing, to the next solution. I'm not always there. I'm here right now because I like talking about this stuff. But people who know me will tell you like why am I? People say I'm talented. Like why aren't you out there? Because this is a philosophical thing, but why aren't you playing more in Cayman as a musician and doing what you do? And this is not the full answer to the question, but I mean, this is a significant part of it. A lot of what we do, a lot of what I do as a musician happens in my mind.
Okay.
And meaning the beginning, the end, the middle, the processes that occur before the thing begins, the processes that happen before, and all the good, the juicy good, the dopamine-filled good of becoming very satisfied in practice, and the mental work that goes into it fulfills me so much that to do it again in front of people, that's one thing. Usually if I'm going to do that, I'm in a giving mode. I'm not like, I work in film and video production, and we do the animation. So it's not like I need to play these keys to put bread on the table. You know what I'm saying? I approach music from a different place.
Right. It's similar with film because, or just any production, or even something that I'm working on, or even something that I'm editing. There's a difference between the feeling that I get when I'm working on it, and I could even get cathartic experiences when the edit looks really nice and the sound, the music, everything makes, comes together, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that and then showing it at the cinema for other people to see.
Yeah.
Those are two different things.
Yeah. And they will never know because they never came through the processes, all the options that you had to experience in real time. Right.
They'll never know. They'll
never know that.
That's just something we know.
Yeah. And one time I got a client to sit through a 13-hour edit with me. Well, they didn't make it to 13 hours. But they left knowing fully well why a simple thing can take 13 hours. Because you have to live it over and over. Yeah. Real time. Over and over. Like people don't know that. But yeah, so heart to heart, coming to grips with who we are, taking responsibility for ourselves to get better results in our life, not playing the victim card, not blaming other people for what we were responsible for, manning up and I think
there's a lot of blame in the world.
It all goes there.
There's a lot of blame.
Yeah.
People love to point fingers.
Too much.
Too much, man.
Too much.
Like, I mean,
I can't talk about certain things in my circle of friends because I've become very unpopular looking the way I look, to say certain things from the perspectives I have.
Right.
Coming out of doing the heart to heart, saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't be the victim here.
Right.
Maybe we shouldn't be talking about that.
People don't want to hear that.
Maybe we shouldn't.
It's that person's fault.
Yeah.
How can you not admit? Can't you see what that person's doing and saying? It's their fault.
Yeah. It's taking responsibility is a big thing. When you've been hurt, really hurt, when someone has done harm to you, quantifiable harm, it's very hard for you to not only focus on that.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting because a lot of these people are what I call my vibrational people, my law of attraction folks. They come at conversations through that lens. And I'm saying, I sometimes say to them, and this is where the conversation will break right down. I will say, well, if you attract everything.
Yeah, stop right there.
Yeah, I can't continue that. Are you who's responsible
for those bad things that happen to you?
That's a difficult conversation to have.
Yeah.
With people who feel
that they were hurt. From an outside force.
Yeah. But then there's also the contribution that the outside force makes, because the outside force and all of us have agency. We have agency, right? One individual takes advantage of another individual. Self-importance, selfishness, self-interest is always that.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Push comes to shove, it's going to be my kids, not your kids.
Right.
Who will survive.
Right.
And that's that. But you see, when a thing gets made that's able to get better results faster in more comfortable ways, AI, it forces us to take it to its logical destination, and that's facing up to our selfishness. You see what I'm saying? What are we going to do with that self-importance? Are you really that important if all of this is being taken care of? Now the playing field isn't the same anymore. So that's where those conversations go.
Yeah, I mean, I think with all the division in the world and all the finger pointing and wars.
Too much.
I mean, I think that is where the conversation goes, towards a more humble approach, a more loving approach, a more patient approach.
We need to step away from knowledge, I believe. I mean, respect it. Use it for what it's good for. Do we want to rely solely upon it? No, I think we need to really look at what we have always called the most powerful force in the world, LOVE. I think of love as a technology. That's another conversation we can have.
How?
Someone in a church somewhere, this is Sunday morning, someone in a church somewhere is quietly closing their eyes in a corner somewhere and truly from their heart thinking information and confidently believing that they're getting heard.
Right.
Lovingly.
Right.
Some people would call that telekinesis.
Right.
Other people would call that prayer.
Right.
And it's all around intentions of that. But when I say love, I think of love as a technology, it means that I'm saying that I think of the behavior algorithm. Algorithm is a calculation running its course, right? If in all my digging through various records about love and various people who have written things about love, I see it greatly. It's not only, but greatly as a behavior. In fact, love is patient. Love is kind. It's a behavior, as well as other things, right?
Yeah. A lot of people equate it with this as a feeling.
A feeling,
right?
But a feeling is
comes and goes.
Yet a feeling is rooted in what? Some feelings come from biological sources.
Right.
My wife feels a certain way because her body has chemically reached a certain place in life, right? That sort of thing. Feelings, maybe not all of them, but a lot of feelings root in behaviors, biological behaviors. So love as a feeling, I still hear behavior when people say feeling. I hear energy in motion when they say that. And I think of it as a technology because it's an algorithm running its course. Right. What it will do with you probably differs from what it will do with me. But love, I think of as one. Love is one. One love. It's true. It's one algorithm. I can't say that I love you and then hate your brother. Because you come from the same algorithm.
Yeah. I mean, it's the age-old, love is the most important thing in the world, but I feel like, so what's the point of bringing that up? Because everybody knows that, but I think if we're honest about the world today, it is truly lacking.
Yeah.
And then not so much within individuals and within families, so much as with the rest of the world.
I think people are. I see what you're saying.
You have to choose.
Yeah.
Russia or Ukraine.
Yeah. A lot of people are there, and they are choosing.
They're right and they're wrong.
Yeah. No.
There's no room for openness.
And there's not enough. There's not enough appreciation for the interconnectedness of all of us.
Right.
And the interdependency.
Right.
Of all of us.
Right.
And if if people begin to think about that more, they usually compartmentalize it. Well, there's only room for so much interconnectedness. I'm happy with this, but not all of that.
Right.
There's still self-importance. There's still selfishness happening.
Right.
And then, like, I find it very interesting that the definitions in this, like the holy books, inclusive of the Bible, conveys that it's the opposite of selfishness. And then what does this thing do? What is social media based on? Self.
Yeah.
Right? It propagates, facilitates a paintbrush for you to paint yourself. So the world can look at you.
And like
you.
Appreciate you. Look up to
it's
you.
all me. And then I have, like, it goes to an interesting place because there are different kinds of vibrational folks, different kinds of law of attraction folks, different kinds of people who are studying and trying to live by the law. But interestingly, some think it's just Santa Claus. Law of attraction, it's all like, it's anything I want, everything I want. Me. It's still selfish. It's a lot. Many do not yet see that the law of love causes you to do the opposite of me. So we build our companies. We make our formation of the companies around me or this group that's starting it. And then maybe down later, we're going to do some things for the community. Maybe. And only do it when it reflects back on me. We're not just going to give. We have to get that.
I have to put my name on the wing of the hospital.
We need to have that photo up.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
It's like OpenAI. Remember, OpenAI was supposed to be started as
there's that.
A not-for-profit.
Yeah.
Benefit humanity.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think so. Me. Right.
This, but I'm telling you, the same thing that's getting created will cause all of humanity to have to go face themselves. And not only face ourselves, but trust. What people really fear is trust. Do I trust something, a machine that's smarter than me? Do I trust that it will have mercy on me and my family? That's at the bottom of a lot of things. It's one thing to say, it's coming from my job, blah, 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 blah. People already know that that's going to get taken care of. Like, it's really about trust beyond that.
Right.
It's AI for me is a matter of trust.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't trust it. A lot of people are on the on the fence, but then a lot of people think we're just becoming the Borg. Like a cyborg, you mean?
Yeah, and a lot of people say that we're already kinda
Borgish,
because we look at us with our laptops in front of us.
Right,
I haven't I'm talking without my notes really, but some people cannot go for a week if Google Calendar isn't involved in their life. They can't. Yeah. They literally can't.
Right.
They haven't used their memory in so long that they will forget that important meeting next Tuesday at 2:00.
Yeah.
And so if you happen to lift their phone or they forget it somewhere, that's it for
they
that.
They don't know what they're doing the next. I mean, I have to admit I'm the same way. I don't know. I need to check my...
Yeah, and then that's it for that meeting.
My technological device.
Yeah. So we are Borgish already.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I feel like the phone is an extension of ourselves.
And so far, technology hasn't harmed us enough or in the kinds of ways that that cause us to go, all right, that's it, technology. I don't care if you will remind me about the meeting next week.
Right.
That's way too risky. We're like happy to go, oh, it's just a mental health issue that I can go see a doctor about. And I can mitigate. Right? Oh, I can pay that cost. And then a few blinks of an eye later in 2030, we're like, oh, what?
Right.
What does that cost really look like? I think pay attention to maxima. Like health is important. Getting to the gym is important. Eating right has never been more important.
Yeah.
I think it's the simple things. I think it's the having the heart-to-hearts, becoming vulnerable.
Maybe that's why podcasts are kicking off.
Yes. And that's why people are sitting through 3-hour-long discussions to learn things that usually was withheld from them.
Right. Because you're kind of vulnerable on a podcast.
You know,
You're open.
yeah.
You know, you share more than you would on an edited piece.
True.
You know?
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it. People, I think of it like this as well. The human experience, the human spirit, I think it became created for connection. And podcasts or any platform that allows for connection. That's why I call my thing collab. That's why it's called collab, because I think
What thing?
the app that I'm making with them,
Okay.
like the app that I hope will change the world.
What is it?
So we're working on a social platform that causes users to do one thing: collaborate and create value because of that collaboration for the sake of creating assets for themselves. You like Nike, I like Reebok. We vote. Nike and Reebok collaborate. We fan drive it to incredible amounts of value via pre-demand, prepaid demand.
Okay.
And we do it on a platform that allows us a co-share in the asset.
So what are you creating?
I'm creating a service that onboards people to assets that they create.
Like what kind of assets?
So anything really, but we began with music, and we're still in testing because we soft launched in 2020, and then AI just took us by surprise.
Right.
And now we're back at the drawing board trying to include it, and this makes sense. Include it so that it helps people better on board. So, and that's been tougher than we thought.
So is it like where thousands of people write a song together?
No, it would be where thousands of people say, I'd like Badir and someone else to do a song. I'd like this artist and that artist and that artist to collaborate specifically around this. And they drive up pre-demand for it. Like every time.
So like if it's the sort of like, you know, there's this thing this year with the elections, the U.S. elections, and everyone's talking about there's going to be no debate. Just use it as an example. Maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't. But like in your app now, people would crowd together.
They would,
and pre-fund this debate.
Yeah, if they want.
And then sort of with that leverage and power of the collaboration, make this debate happen. Is that just a crude example of?
That is a crude example, except that it would be for something that benefits the world. truly benefits the world. Brings value to the world, but also brings value to the fans.
So, and then, right, when they want it, they would want the debate or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So they're happy if it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
so how is it different from crowdfunding, per se?
Because it facilitates, as it unfolds and with other functionality, it facilitates your mind, a contribution from your mind to make a product better. The way we've lived so far, a company, a brand, makes a product on the assumption, based on their R&D, that they know what we want.
Right.
This thing flips that. We live in a world where we kind of now know what we want. Like this started from the music area. So like I came up working with labels and artists, and the thinking back many years ago was that the fans don't know what they want.
Right.
That's when a few songs came out every summer, and the framework did what the framework did, and it worked. But now we live in a world where by 6 o'clock today, no lie, 9 million songs would have gone up. 9 million. Think about that.
Right.
Like I think the world of people, billions of people, at 9 million every day, people know. And that's the last time I checked. Probably more by now.
I mean, that's too many. No one's listening to 9 million songs.
No. That's just what's getting uploaded, and a portion of that will get marketed and get funding and the whole lot, right? But the new thinking is that the people of the world, the consumers, the fans are so inundated. This comes back to information. This is the tsunami again, man. We know what we want out of the tsunami. We're not living in the 1990s anymore where there's such scarcity on certain projects, music projects that someone can do the thinking for us. Information is right here. So the app, the social app, the collaboration app takes this approach that people do know what they want. People can get on the tsunami and get the good out of the tsunami before it crashes down on them. And what they want is an advantage in life. So if a company, they don't want a product alone then. I think we're moving into a world where people don't just buy products. People want with that product part of the IP, part of the real tradable asset, Bitcoin.
NFTs, yeah.
NFTs. People, I will buy this product, but what am I also getting that is going to outlast the product that's going to help my grandkids have an incremental advantage in the world to come?
All right.
They don't want just the product. And they're going to be very, very careful with how they spend their money. That world is upon us. That ethos, that way of living is upon us. Because people are now savvy with these things. And they know their power. That's the other thing. They know the purchasing. They know that's why the world is kind of fragmented, though. So the platform seeks to cause people to not merely connect and fan drive something that they all agree on, that they want made to success, but by participation, get maybe 12% of the IP co-shared with themselves. Or maybe 18% put into an annuity for their grandkids, or a trust fund in the Cayman Islands. Or, that's buildable.
They want a little more control.
Yes, because people...
A little more ownership.
Yeah, because people feel like, it's in my notes somewhere, people feel like they've come into a thing that has entrapped them. They're like, entrapment. A lot of it has to do with this underlying feeling that if I don't do something now, my kids will become entrapped into a system that's even more divisive than the one I grew up in. And that's real. You see what I'm saying? And so technology, it's not just what we're doing. A lot of the thinking, there's a group of people who are innovating today, who are trying to onboard the world really for an advantage, like the people of the world. Because they know that if they don't, what's coming is worse than any other collapse we've ever seen.
Yeah, a lot of. I really feel we live in apocalyptic times, more than even 20 years ago. You know,
Yes.
I think people are really, really. I always think about the Book of Revelations. I feel like that's just such a crazy book to have written. And for it to have so much application today. Like when you open that book, you're like, yeah, that can happen. Definitely could see all of that playing out. I mean, even people who don't believe in God or the Bible, they talk as if they do believe in the book of Revelation.
Yeah, I've seen it change. A lot of people who are like, you could never talk to them about the book.
Right.
Are now like, they're talking to you about the book.
Don't you feel? I feel like the world has become a little more spiritual, for lack of a better word, since the pandemic. I feel there's a lot of people who are open to things that they don't understand.
Could it be that if we're stuck in our houses for a long period of time and we get to see information that we haven't paid attention to for a long time and just face up to certain things that we were too occupied trying to survive. We couldn't pay attention to.
Right.
Now blossoms.
It's just we have to face it.
Yeah.
I mean, the end of civilization, I think people are bound to become religious whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
Right? You're bound to question things greater than you at that point.
Yes. And I think because of the Middle East, because of what's happening in the Middle East, especially because of what's happening in the Middle East, and because of how Revelation is written the way it's written, people are like, what? Yeah. Because, like, what? Like, is anything a coincidence? Does it exist? Like, you have to wonder about this stuff.
So let's bring this all back to Cayman. How far along are we? So let's talk about Cayman a bit in terms of everything that we have going on here. How does Cayman fit into the larger world? Maybe
it depends. I will talk about it from my neck of the woods. That looks different for different people. I think they're different. Personally, with what I do with music and video, I get to put camera in front of CEOs sometimes. I get to put camera in front of kids.
Everybody.
I get to, it's interesting. I think of Cayman. When I think of Cayman, I think of many versions of Cayman. Many lenses by which you can see Cayman. I think depending on your own situation, the sad thing is you can live very disconnected in Cayman from people and from the other perspectives on Cayman that other people have. More than ever, I think Cayman needs to have a heart-to-heart. But more than ever, I think, as well, I don't know if we're equipped or practiced or fluent in that ability. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's what you need to do, but there's also what you're able to do. If we still can't talk about certain things.
Right.
I think if we don't, though, because the world modernizes as quickly as it's going, and we've talked about technology. Cayman relies upon it and will not continue to live untouched by it. We're very susceptible to what's happening in the world. And our Gen Xers, especially our kids, they've begun to ask some very difficult questions. Right? That some people are not ready or able to answer. But we need to. Even if we get it wrong. Because that's a start.
Yeah, I agree. I think Caymanians and Cayman in general really don't like to have the heart-to-hearts.
We used to, but I think a long time ago, we could. It was a different Cayman. But now it's the cost of having it. Like I've rarely seen someone who says, I'm just going to flap my lips because I can pay every cost. I've not seen that in a while.
Right.
They don't care. They're going to go all in.
Right.
Yeah, did you see the Cat Williams?
I did.
Like, what's the equivalent of that in Cayman?
Right.
Like someone going in.
All in.
Because they can just pay the cost.
Right.
Whatever the cost is.
Right.
And they don't care.
Right.
I don't think we're going to be there for a while. I love what I do in the sense that I love that I'm able to make some progress. I don't like that I'm not going as fast as I would want to go or making the kind of progress I want to. I don't like that I'm so flawed and make so many mistakes myself. But I think we need to do something. I do not like we need to pray for government. I'm glad I don't have your job.
It's true.
Like really, bro. Like you go to the left, it's a problem. You go to the right, it's a problem. You go to in the middle, it's not a good balance for me.
Yeah.
Something is wrong with it. Here. Like
you're just a target.
I don't know. They need prayers. They need support. They need telekinesis happening from the heart.
Interesting. Right.
You know what I'm saying? They need power to make better decisions. And then also for us to have the humility as a people, as a community, to know that we got what we got. Let's work with it the best we can. You know, like we can do better. Do you really need a book, words on a piece of paper or in law, or a human sitting in a certain box downtown to tell you what is right and wrong?
Right.
Like seriously. I don't know. Information of them. Them don't have information.
Interesting.
Do you really need a stop sign, a STOP put into an octagon at the end of the street to tell you that you need to stop because that's a busy street? Information have them. Them don't have information.
That's such an interesting concept to think that we're influenced and controlled.
Yes. And then we complain about it, but then we do need it because we're not responsible. I'm just being honest with my own self in this.
You know, the last podcast I was on, I asked, what the future is like. And I was tempted to ask you there, but I think based on this conversation, it just seems unknowable. I mean, there's just so much happening in the world.
And that's okay. I think that's the thing. Where I've landed with it is, I don't need to know.
Right.
I need to do me and I need to love. I need to prioritize humble, honest living. That in itself is a mountain to climb.
Right.
That is love is suffering, bro. No, love is long suffering. To be more exact.
And that's kind of where it's at, humble, honest living. I mean, that's what you can control.
Yeah.
That's what you can do
you.
day by day. You can't predict tomorrow. You can't
I
predict
can't
10
do it
years
for
from
my
now.
kids. I can't do it for my wife. I can't do it for my circle of friends who got this going on or that going on. I got to do me. I got to pay attention to heart. Like, seriously. It bugs me out that because everyone's spiritual these days, right? It bugs me out, and has done for a long time, that we're made in the image of what we're made in. But yet, I can't barely get it right for more than 6 or 9 times in a row, certain things. Right? Like I became really, really upset with my myself really recently, as I'm working on a collaboratively with some friends on an invention.
Okay.
Prototype 1, prototype 2, prototype 3, prototype 4. We're going into other prototypes.
Right.
The beginning one that I fiddled with and put together worked, but it only worked with my consciousness back in 2019 when I assembled it. I ticked all the boxes, answered all the things. And now we're at prototype 4, bro. And we had to come through 1.1, 1.5, 1.7, then 2. 2.6, 2.8, then 3, 3.5. So you're incrementally, and what constantly happens is that in an effort to get better results, faster, better, more value for the customer when this thing comes out, I kick myself because things that I should have seen at 1.5, I only see and appreciate and try to fix at 4.6.
And what does that tell you?
They will not see, hearing, they will not hear. That's that's the humility that comes with the whole thing.
Right.
Like my capacity with information is limited. And I will only get to make better decisions if I put my foot forward confidently with exhausting my current capacity to then know fully well that 2.0, I'm going to have to do the same thing again. And there's going to be a cost in that. And that's why I became angry with myself, is because I took on money, bro. I took on money to find solutions, to find answers, only to find more problems, thinking that this was it.
Right.
And then to get to the next, I have to do the same thing again. And I don't like that. I think you concur with filmmaking. I think 100%. You know what I'm saying.
100%.
And so it's
and that's the creative journey. I think that's the artist's journey. All of these little hiccups along the way, and you envision things one way, and then it doesn't quite turn out that way, and then you become exasperated, and you don't want anybody to look at your movie. I know a lot of people out there who've done movies that nobody has seen.
I'm one of them. Until the AI comes along that can help me fix everything. Put it out how I want to put it out.
Right. Huh.
Sora.
But like you said, there's humility that you have to embrace there, and there's just day-to-day honest living. We got to keep pushing that rock up the mountain. It falls back down, and we got to get up and push it again the next day. And I mean, I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah. And you know what I have come to consider? We don't mind making mistakes if it's not going to cost us. That's what I'm saying. Like, I run to the finish line. I don't mind making mistakes. I'm the king of mistakes. I have a scepter of a kingdom. I have subjects. I have a little court. And it works really well when I don't have to pay, when the cost is not on me.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? But when we're going to other prototypes and then like to get better results, to get better products, to make better decisions, it will cost you. That's something I never quite prepared properly for. That's a big lesson for me. You can think that you just want to do a little platform that's going to change the world. Cost, bro. Something might come from outside your periphery, and that's the reason why we need people around.
That's true too.
Who will talk about the blind spots?
Right. That's true too, because they will see things that you don't see. Every time I finish a first cut, as you know, I share it. I share it with everybody. What are the blind spots?
You're very good at that, actually. I noticed that.
What are the blind spots?
Yeah.
What do I not see?
Yeah.
And then when they bring it up, and everybody starts seeing the same thing, you're like, you have to admit, yes, they're right.
Yeah.
I'm getting too much feedback here that this part is missing, or this doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah. Huh.
But yeah, man, Cayman and life as we know it, that keeps on changing. With who knows what we'll see when we on our feeds when we rap. You know,
Right.
The world has changed again.
Right. In the last hour.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you being on the podcast and sharing some of your wisdom and these ideas and these concepts and information as an organism. I think is a very interesting concept that I don't even feel a lot of people can argue with. You know, I think we see it. We have evidence of information attaching itself to individuals and sort of running with it and wanting to live and wanting to feed off of these individuals and growing.
Yeah, I think
it's pretty insane.
I don't know the degree to which it has agency, but it behaves like it, man. It behaves like it.
All right, cool, man. We'll wrap it up there, and definitely would love to have you on again one day in the In Cayman podcast. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Badil.